Hello and welcome to this special edition of Euronews, now brought to you from Paris. I'm Annelise Borges. As the war in Ukraine continues now in its seventh week, we're going to look at how Europe has been responding to this crisis. And for that, I'm now joined from Ljubljana by the Prime Minister of Slovenia, Mr. Janez Janša. Thank you very much for joining us here on Euronews. Prime Minister, you were among the first European leaders to travel to Kyiv to show your support to President Volodymyr Zelensky. You actually took a great amount of risk taking that train ride while the battle for Kyiv was still ongoing. What was your message to Ukraine then, and what is your message to Ukraine now?
Yes, good afternoon, Annelise. Thank you for this opportunity. Yes, it has been 1 month, I think, exactly, when we traveled together with my Polish and Czech friends, prime ministers of those two countries, to Kyiv. We were the first foreign delegation coming there after the Russian aggression started. And our trip there was a message of hope. We just wanted to, we wanted to tell them that they're not abandoned. And I'm very glad that after our visit, many other colleagues from other EU member states followed. I'm especially glad that President of the Commission, President of the European Parliament, and High Representative Josep Borrell also traveled there, that European diplomats are back after Slovenia being first sending our charge d'affaires back to Kyiv, joining the Polish ambassador who was alone there from the EU member states. That now I think that feeling in Kyiv is much better regarding the foreign support. But of course the situation is still difficult, and I think that despite many efforts investing in real support for Ukraine, humanitarian, financial, military, which is especially important, I don't think we are doing everything we can. I think that we are still not united enough to make Ukraine much stronger.
Sorry, Prime Minister, interrupt, because that's going to be my next question to you, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, is how has Europe fared in helping Ukraine? Do you think that there's been enough help, a strong enough help, in view of Russia's aggression?
Well, I think that the European reaction on the Russian aggression was much more united and much stronger than it was expected in Kremlin. On the other side, not strong enough as it would be needed. Because at the beginning of this tragedy, when Russia really invaded Ukraine and many people didn't believe this will happen, some of our friends in Europe, they didn't believe that Ukraine will be resisting. They thought that the government and the president will escape from the country, and that Russian takeover will be short, brief, within a week. I told them that this will not happen, because if a nation is prepared to defend itself, and if the political leadership is united and Ukrainian leadership is united, there is no difference between the president, the government, and the opposition parties. They're united, and this is the key factor. Then such a nation, especially if this is a nation of almost 40 million, cannot be defeated despite the might of the invading army. So I think that now, and this is the most important question, we have to concentrate on military aid to Ukraine, because otherwise this war will go on, and this is influencing everything. This is influencing also the way of life inside of
you mentioned
Europe. Ukrainians are also fighting for us, and the Russian aggression will be stopped when the Ukraine is strong enough to stop them.
You mentioned that visit by Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission. She delivered in a very symbolic moment that questionnaire to President Volodymyr Zelensky and has repeatedly said that Ukraine belongs in the European Union. But of course, it's not in her power to approve Ukrainian membership, nor to suggest that Ukraine should be integrated. This is something that must be agreed upon by all 27 member states, and they have disagreed before on who joins and who doesn't. What do you think is going to happen next? And would Ukrainian membership of the European Union really change something in terms of the battlefield?
Well, I think it's important. It is something what can change many things, also the situation on the battlefield. Because during the war, it's not on the strength in arms, which is the most important. It's the strength in your heart, or in the hearts of the people who are defending their country, which is the most important. And any hope, any strong signal that they belong to the family helps. It's true that, as you said, that the European Commission is not a decisive factor, because the enlargement is linked to the consensus of all EU member states. It's clearly a difficult issue for some member states, but vast majority of the EU member states is supportive toward a fast-track approach for Ukraine, also for Moldova, Georgia, Western Balkan countries, because we have suddenly realized that we were very weak when we have been looking for the strategic answers to the strategic question. And now it's obvious that if the European Union is not enlarging, somebody else does, and this is not bringing more peace and more security to the continent.
When we talk about disagreements within the EU, we often think about the leader of a neighboring country, one of your allies, the President of Hungary, Viktor Orban. How do you see Hungary's persistence throughout the times to support Russia in that proximity? Isn't that in detriment of European stability and cohesion?
Well, I don't see that Hungary is supporting Russian aggression. They condemned the aggression. They agreed on all sanctions, otherwise all those packages wouldn't be possible. But they have some problems regarding the minorities issues and other things between the neighboring country, and unfortunately this is affecting the altitude. According to my opinion, when a country is attacked, when it is in war, when people are dying, we have to abandon other things and we have to concentrate on the saving lives. So I don't have a problem with the priorities in this issue. But I think that if we are speaking about enlargement and the European perspective of the countries from the eastern neighborhood and from the Balkans, Hungary was always very supportive to this issue. I think that I know that the commissioner for the enlargement is coming from Hungary, and he is doing a good job regarding the enlargement.
Very briefly, Prime Minister, you've recently said that he was going to go as far as possible when referring to Vladimir Putin. Is there no stopping to Russia's president?
Well, currently, Ukrainians are trying to stop him. If this scenario A, which was in some European countries not only probability but certainty, when the aggression started, they thought that Russia, as a military might, will take Ukraine within a few days, maybe 2 weeks, but not longer. If this scenario realized, then I'm 100% sure that next country to be invaded is Moldova and then Georgia and then maybe Baltic states, because
a very bleak perspective there.
We have experience
Prime Minister
with
Janez
such
Janša,
behavior.
I'm very sorry, we are unfortunately out of time. I want to thank you for joining us here on Euronews. Thank you very much for your time. And do stay tuned with Euronews. There's much more to come. Stay with us.